TTC presents Cruising Ahoy, which is set on the cruise liner somewhere in the Mediterranean.
Riding along on the crest of a wave and the world is ours.
Thank goodness we managed to get away.
Don't be so uncharitable.
Uncharitable? They could have boarded for England.
Well, let's sit here for a while.
We know more about their sons and grandchildren's brilliance and medical problems than our own. Her mouth seemed to constantly flap without any connection to the brain. And although I really concentrated, I couldn't see her draw breath, not once.
Well, she must have done sometime.
Probably has her own private bag of wind hidden away somewhere, scared to stop in case her husband, dear Freddie this and dear Freddie that, should grab the chance and jump in.
But he was quite nice, wasn't he?
Yes, he was okay.
The whiskey might have slowed him.
That's true. I admire his capacity. But shoveling single malt down at that speed doesn't bode well for a healthy liver, or the ability to walk in a straight line out of the restaurant.
Well, think of it as a new experience.
That experience I could do without. Once is enough.
Even though we have them for the week?
That horrendous thought already crossed my mind. Let's see if we can't make some other seating arrangements.
Is that possible?
I'm sure something could be organised. Either that or live in the snack bar.
Well, they must eventually run out of things to say.
Never. There's a queue of inconsequential chatter sitting somewhere at the back of her mind, waiting to erupt should the possibility of a pause in the flow appear.
Forget about it for a while, otherwise you'll get indigestion.
Yes, you're probably right.
At least the food was good.
Very.
And the cabin. We can always escape to that should the occasion arise.
And survive on room service?
Served by that dishy steward would do me.
What sort of service had you in mind, Mom?
Shut up and drink your brandy.
Cheers. But you must admit, it would be a bit jollier with fewer silver-haired wrinklies trying to race round on their Zimmers.
Oh, stop exaggerating. They're not all decrepit or silver-haired.
It's just as bad seeing platinum blondes with faces nipped, tucked, and stretched out of existence.
Some of them do look rather startled.
And when they smile, it's terrifying.
Any other problems you would like to get off your chest?
Yes. Perfume that is lethal within 10 paces.
Anyone particular in mind?
3 guesses.
Oh, relax, love. Relax and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yes, you're right. We could go for a walk round deck number whatever it is and wallow in the Mediterranean moonlight.
Away from it all.
Here.
And find what fun-filled day tomorrow has to offer.
We'll probably find out she's the boat's karaoke queen.
Oh, David, stop it.
Quite right.
There you are.
Oh, no.
I wondered where you'd hidden yourself. We just couldn't escape from a boring couple on the way out of the restaurant. Eventually we had to be rather rude and walk away, didn't we, Freddie?
I thought they were quite interesting.
Otherwise we should have been there until midnight. We ordered some drinks to be brought here. Freddie, dear, bring that chair over. Can we get you anything? A little nightcap?
Thank you, but we were thinking of going back.
I was just saying to dear Freddie how pleasant it was to have a conversation over dinner with such interesting people, didn't I, dear?
Yes, I thought it was very...
It was so easy to get trapped with people to bore you to death with a minutiae of family problems, having no relevance to what you've come on the cruise for. Don't you agree?
Well,
You need to get away from the humdrum things in home life and have an enjoyable time with new friends and interests. I used to be quite shy and almost mousy once. I know. Look at me now. You'll find it hard to believe. But Freddie got me out of that, didn't you, dear? And ever since then, the enjoyment of meeting and talking with different people has opened up a glorious new world. That's why coming on a cruise is such fun. We had the fortune of meeting interesting folk like you and learning about their adventures during a lifetime together. Did we tell you that it was a generosity of my son that we were able to come on this particular cruise?
You did mention it during dinner.
Life can be quite hard at times, and on a fixed income with no inflation-proof pension and prices rising almost every week, especially in the supermarket. And then out of nowhere, dear Patrick, did I mention the name of my son?
I think you did.
Patrick has done so well for himself, hasn't he, Freddie? Ever since university. He went to Cambridge, you know, and he's made steady progress in his company. And out of the blue, he said, go away somewhere for a week, get away from things for a while, and book dear Freddie and me on this cruise. He wouldn't take no for an answer, would he, dear?
He was very generous.
My daughter-in-law doesn't seem to appreciate what we do for them, does she, dear? She refuses to let us take the children out, saying that's what she pays the nanny for, and so we don't see much of them. It's not as if we want to take them over, is it? I don't know where she gets the idea from. We believe it's right for grandparents not to interfere in children's upbringing, but you would think that very occasionally she would accept some experienced advice, wouldn't you? Oh, just put them down there, thank you. Freddie, sign the thing. Now, what can we get you? You must have something for your first evening.
No, nothing more, thank you, really.
Are you absolutely sure?
Yes, quite sure, but thank you once again. Perhaps another time?
Of course, my son Patrick is amazingly calm when these things get fraught with problems in their home. I sometimes think he is, if anything, too forgiving. But he's just such a sweet nature. He always had a sweet nature, hardly ever cried as a baby. It's such a pity he wasn't blessed with a brother or sister to play with. But it wasn't to be, was it, Freddie dear? Fortunately, he really enjoyed his own company, loved being alone with his books. I must tell you, really sweet. I would sometimes get up during the night to go to the bathroom and find him asleep with his light on and an open book beside him. A proper little bookworm. Oh, dear, I must go and powder my nose. Always happens with white wine. Do you know where it is, dear?
I don't remember seeing the...
Oh, I'll ask the steward to go. I'll come over there. Excuse me, young man.
You were saying over dinner that you've done quite a lot of cruising.
Yes, we have. 7 or 8 times, I think. Or was it 9? No, 7 or 8, I think. Yes, it was 7 or 8 times.
And all in the Mediterranean?
No, many places, different parts of the world. Once we went to the Baltic, or were supposed to go to the Baltic states. I think it was the Baltic, but something got muddled and we ended up in the Arctic. Northern Lights and all that sort of thing. It was very spectacular with some rather magnificent Norwegian liqueur to keep you warm. I don't remember the name, but it certainly saved you from freezing to death, even though it was supposed to be summertime. Yes, well, it was summertime, of course. Otherwise, we'd be sailing in the dark, bumping into icebergs. They had great chunks that dropped off, you know. Made one hell of a splash. Almost a tidal wave. A bit like the Isle of Wight disappearing, if you see what I mean. One hell of a splash. Gave the fish a bit of surprise. What?
Yes, I suppose it would really. Have them running for cover.
David.
Ack the Wight.
Pardon?
Ack the Wight. The name of the Norwegian drink. Or was it Danish? I've suddenly remembered. Yes. Ack the Wight. Very warming. Made from grain or potato, I think. A bit like vodka, I suppose, but just right for those northern climes. Ack the Wight. Comes from the Latin, you know. Aqua vita. Water of life.
How interesting.
David.
Certainly was a lifesaver on that trip. Otherwise, I would have frozen to death. Warm enough in the cabin and so forth, but the wife insisted on being on deck most of the time, see the sights. We spent much of it on the lookout for whales, hoping the first to cry, "There she blows!" But not one appeared. Not even one. The Isle of Wight probably scared them off. Have you been to the Arctic?
No.
Not recently.
You need to be well wrapped up, especially when standing on an outside deck. I have a memory of blue faces and bright red noses, like beacons, almost bright enough to see your way back to your cabin. What? Would you like another drink?
Oh, that's very kind, but we ought to think about getting to bed. It's been rather a long day with the flight as well.
Well, at least wait until Jodie comes back. She'd be disappointed to miss you. She really enjoys your company. Perhaps we could meet up for breakfast. No, no, it had better be lunch. I'm not too good in the mornings these days. Takes much longer to raise enough energy to get out of bed. Hello there, my dear. Another one of these, please. Better make it a double, save you coming back again.
Are you going on any of the trips?
Joni goes on most of them, but I try staying on board when I can. Have an extremely well-stocked bars and interesting company. Sometimes Joni insists when there's not too much walking. And once you've seen one magnificent building, you've seen them all, don't you think? Excellent to look at, but hopeless to live in. Need an army of staff to keep it looking pristine. What? Everything things a little bit more natural, more lived in. I'd be scared to move for fear of knocking over some priceless ornament or other. Are you going
Where?
on any trips?
Well, we were thinking of seeing the one that...
Once in Venice, or was it South America? Anyway, one chap felt a bit tired with all the walking, lifted a red rope and tried to sit on this ornately decorated, very delicate chair. He ended up on the floor in a mass of dust. They carried him off in a stretcher. Damaged his back, apparently.
There's a karaoke evening tomorrow. What song shall we ask them to do, Freddie?
Oh, whatever you like, dear. Think he cracked his head on something, too. I've just been telling him about the time we went to... Where was it now?
Do you like karaoke?
Not really.
Oh, we could do a duet.
But we don't sing at all.
Oh, what a shame. It's very enjoyable. All the old songs that have a melody and not that jumble of noise they call music these days. Like songs from those lovely old musicals that gladden the heart. Did I finish my drink, Freddie dear?
It's one of those glasses there.
David,
Yes?
do you think we ought to go?
Surely it's still early.
We were thinking of walking round one of the decks and then to our cabin.
Deck number 4. You can get to it by the lift if you don't want to use the stairs. We could finish our drinks and accompany you if you like, couldn't we, Freddie?
There's no need.
Oh, let our dinner settle down and we'll all go together.
Excuse me. Forgive me for interrupting, but my friend thinks she might know you from some time ago and would like to ask you if your name happens to be David.
What? Yes. That's right. It is David.
Oh, she was too shy to come over herself, so I said I would. I hope you don't mind.
No, of course not.
Only she felt you might not remember her from so many years ago
I don't seem to recall.
and didn't want to intrude on your conversation.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Are you sure?
Well, this sounds intriguing. Why not come and join us?
Oh, Freddie dear, bring those chairs over.
I don't think we ought to involve ourselves in...
Nonsense. Plenty of room. I was just saying to dear Freddie what a lot of interesting people one can meet on this type of cruise without the distraction of children running riot. Move around a little and let them in, Freddie.
Oh, thank you. Come over here, dear.
We don't want to intrude.
Oh, you're not intruding at all.
Let us get you a drink. What will you have?
Oh, nothing, thank you.
Oh, you must have a little something. You can't let us drink alone. I'll call over the waitress.
No, nothing. We don't drink.
Really?
No.
Oh.
When did you meet my husband? I mean, David.
How long ago did you say it was, dear?
It must be about 35 years or so.
Really? How exciting!
Joni,
That was about the time we met, wasn't it? Round about then.
What a fantastic memory for faces. Though David must have changed a great deal in that time, surely.
Not necessarily.
I wouldn't recognise dear Freddie from photographs that far back, would you, dear?
I don't suppose I would, really.
That
But,
chubby little thing I fell for. It must have been about that time too.
possibly. I suppose that...
Where have all the years gone? Flown by. Positively flown.
Do you remember, David?
I think I recall.
Oh, but you haven't told them your name, dear.
Ah, let us guess. I love trying to work out people's names from how they look, don't you?
Not now, Joni.
Oh, don't be a party pooper, Freddie dear. I guess Claire's eventually, didn't I? Now, let's see. What about Dorothy? No, Jean. Susan.
It's Deirdre.
Well, that is a surprise. I would never have guessed that, would you, Freddie?
I haven't given it much thought.
A great surprise.
Does it ring any bells, David?
I think so, yes. I remember your face very well now. Yes, but not the name. Hello, Deirdre.
Hello.
Well,
What do you mean?
well, don't stop there.
It was in Spain, a village on the Mediterranean coast, the Costa Brava.
San Martin.
Yes, San Martin, a tiny village on a hill overlooking the sea,
With an enormous church.
and a little shop in the square that sold everything,
From food to beach mats.
next to a very smart restaurant.
Which was far too expensive.
So we never went there,
Lobsters walking round in a glass tank.
waiting for someone to choose them for dinner.
And
Well, there were four of us. We shared an apartment and met these girls on the beach.
Oh, this sounds very romantic.
Joni.
Four of them. So we went around together as a group for a while, didn't we?
Yes.
and
And what?
well, how long a while?
Well, for the rest of the holiday, a week.
Oh, this is like drawing teeth.
What, really? We had different flights back, and as far as I know, had no contact since. At least, not until now.
John and Angela kept in touch and married about 6 months later.
Did they?
Yes. And moved to London.
I can't say I remember them very well.
We write occasionally, mostly emails these days, of course, other than the Christmas cards.
Oh, they're very different now, aren't they, compared to all those years ago?
What are?
Christmas cards. Almost all for charity. Try getting one with a nice religious text. Almost impossible, isn't it, Freddie dear? Even your sister has started sending those horrid Father Christmas things. Not only is he in every shop window ho-ho-hoing all over the place, but comes thumping through the letterbox as well.
Things are bound to change over time, you know.
But never change for the better, do they? Everyone is trying to make money out of it.
Just a bit different, that's all. And Frida has always been a very good sister to me. Always has. Yeah, we never lost touch, even through that last illness. Not once. Kept in touch. We've always been great pals together.
I know, Freddie dear, I know.
Great pals, always.
And what are you doing now, Deirdre?
We decided to take early retirement and are having a holiday.
This is my first cruise.
Ours too. Do you think you'll enjoy it?
I hope so. Our cabin seems very comfortable.
And the food is very good.
But so much of it. You could go on eating all day if you wanted to, with the number of places to eat.
Our cabin has a balcony too, which we're looking forward to sitting out on.
Oh, we wouldn't travel without a balcony, would we, Freddie dear? Freddie, wake up, dear. You're about to spill your drink.
Always been great pals.
You said you'd retired. What from?
Teaching.
I started teaching too, then joined the civil service. We met on a painting weekend. How long ago was it, Deirdre?
3 years?
Time passes so quickly now.
Rushes by. It's suddenly another new year. An old lang syne again. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never...
Hush, Freddie dear. We sang that when we were on a trip in Antarctic. It was a very emotional moment, wasn't it, dear?
And never brought to mind.
Perhaps it's time to go for our walk.
Oh, not yet. We haven't heard about your holiday with Deirdre all those years ago.
Yes, you have. There's nothing much left to tell.
Had you and I met then?
I don't think so. No, I'm sure we haven't. Just a bunch of boys and girls having fun together.
Oh, Freddie, the romance of youth.
Do you remember what year it was?
Good heavens, no. Does it matter?
It might.
Why?
Well, your eyes haven't sparkled like they are now for quite a long time.
What are you talking about?
Or being so defensive.
I am not being defensive. Anything like defensive. Defensive about what?
Well, you tell me.
Oh, this is nonsense.
Then why is Deirdre blushing?
Deirdre?
I think it's the heat in here. Don't you feel very warm?
Not particularly.
Perhaps I could have a glass of water?
G&T with oodles of ice, my dear. Ideal for hot flushes.
It's not a hot flush. Is there something you haven't told me?
What do you mean?
You and him, David.
We didn't meet until a short time ago, did we?
Who didn't?
Us. You and me. I don't know about your life before we met, do I? We never talked about it.
What's that to do with anything?
And don't really want to. Surely we're allowed a private life.
You mean a secretive one?
Not secretive, Anthea. Private. It's such a long time ago.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and ever remain pals? Should old acquaintance...
Quiet, Freddie dear. We're all talking and it's getting very interesting.
What? Oh, sorry, Joni. I was thinking about my sister. All the good times we had together.
I know, dear.
Really good times.
Well, David?
Well, what?
What happened that wasn't much all those years ago when your defensiveness and Deirdre's blushes tell a totally different story?
I'm sorry about this, David. It was pure chance that we came in here after dinner to read for a while. Plus the coincidence of actually being on this boat at the same time. I don't want to be the cause of any embarrassment.
Do you believe in fate, my dear? Freddie and I do, don't we, Freddie?
What?
What will be, will be.
That's all very well, providing you're not trying to hide what was at the same time.
Hiding? Deirdre and I enjoyed each other's company for a week many years ago. What of it? I'm not trying to hide anything.
And those so-called conferences, were they just an opportunity to get away and make whoopee?
This was long before then, must have been. And our conferences were never abroad, always in this country.
Which country is that?
Oh, you know what I mean. This is being blown out of all proportion.
So what did you get up to?
Get up to? We had a very happy week together.
Doing what?
The usual holiday things.
Such as?
Swimming, sunning ourselves and going out in the evenings.
And?
Having barbecues on the beach, in the moonlight. And one evening we hired a boat and found a little sandy cove.
It must have been a very large boat.
Why?
Well, to hold 8 of you.
No, just the two of us.
Really? And what else?
Snorkeling, seeing myriads of creatures hiding in the rocky bits,
In that wonderfully clear water.
and the fish in vivid colours.
Darting about everywhere.
And one nibbled your toes
Which tickled and made me giggle.
and swallowed some water.
It tasted horrid.
and then home, our separate ways.
Before you went home,
What?
your separate ways,
All right. If you must know, that too as often as we could, in and out of the water.
Deirdre!
It was so long ago, really. But it was a lovely week, and I so much wanted to lose my innocence.
What about a bucket of champagne to celebrate? Freddie dear, go and get the waiter.
Feeling a bit dizzy at the moment, Joni.
And how many other Deirdres are likely to pop out of the woodwork? We may still have a few surprises waiting for us on this cruise.
What?
Well, do we?
Well, how do I know?
Oh, so you agree there might be?
No, I don't. This is ridiculous.
Oh, why don't you do us all a favour and jump overboard?
Claire! Shut up. This was, as Deirdre says, over 30 years ago. It's possible you and I hadn't even met then. Or perhaps we were just about to. We've never bothered about things before we met. Why should it change now?
If it was before we met.
Claire, please.
I'm going to my cabin.
Why?
I hate deceitfulness.
No one is being deceitful. Do sit down, Anthea. In a way, I'm quite glad this is out in the open and not just a private memory. Such a pleasant memory, too. What happy fate let us meet after so many years.
Someone up there is always ready, you know.
What are you talking about, Freddie dear?
Organising things.
More like dropping us in at the deep end.
The Isle of Wight effect.
What, dear?
One hell of a splash.
That's one way of looking at it. I remember the brochure saying this could be the experience of a lifetime. I don't remember it suggesting slipping and sliding down memory lane.
An added bonus, perhaps.
Who for?
Happy memories of youth. So long ago.
Hush, Freddie dear.
Long, long ago.
The memory seems to be quite fresh. What happened then?
When?
Well, after this holiday.
Why the Inquisition?
Shut up.
Claire?
That's all right, David. I went home. We lived in a little village in Ireland and settled back to the usual routine.
Which was?
Teaching and helping run the local sports club.
And we haven't seen each other since.
That's true. Not until now.
And have you been teaching all these years?
No, I left quite soon after.
Why was that, dear?
Joni.
Well?
After about 6 weeks, I thought I might be pregnant.
Really? And were you?
There was no way of finding out for certain. To ask a doctor was impossible. Unmarried motherhood not being allowed. Taboo. The family shame and the social shame too, then all far too great. So when I realised I was going to have a baby, I contacted Angela, who managed to find me a small job in London. I left home and I moved in with her. I was her only pregnant bridesmaid.
I didn't know.
And when the baby arrived, I had it adopted.
Adopted?
But didn't you want to keep the baby? Your child?
How could I give the mite a decent upbringing? Alone, very immature, unable to see my family again, rejection. Remember, this was a very different generation.
Was it a boy or a girl?
What?
The baby.
A boy.
Disgusting.
So you have a son floating about somewhere.
Apparently.
And possibly other grandchildren.
I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, don't look so pleased about it.
Sorry, I just don't know what to say.
Not much you can say, is there?
Only glad that now I know, and sad I don't know where he is.
What difference could that make?
Wouldn't you want to know if it had happened to you?
Oh, don't talk rubbish.
Attitudes were so different then.
Why didn't you tell me?
How could I? I didn't know where you lived.
Where did you send the child for adoption?
I'm sorry?
Your son, this child you gave away. Was it through an agency or what?
You make it sound so awful. Perhaps it was. Strange, I had no idea I would ever mention this again. Ever again. No idea at all. It just came out, St. David, after all these years.
Pity it did.
No, Anthea, I'm glad. Truly. I thought I'd pushed it to the back of my mind, out of sight, to forget the feelings both of guilt and pleasure. And I'd forgotten her, so I thought, for all this time. And here I am confiding intimate details of a past life to complete strangers.
Except me.
Yes, except you.
So, what happened?
About what?
The baby.
It was taken away by the hospital.
Where to? An agency?
They mentioned Dr. Bernardo's.
Which one?
I don't know.
Think.
Aren't you being a bit aggressive?
Sorry, dear. I mean, Deirdre, your baby. Did you have a name?
As I'm from Ireland, I asked if he could be after our patron saint, Patrick.
Patrick.
Yes.
Was Colchester the nearest Bernardo's from London then?
I don't know.
Why do you want to know?
What's that about Colchester?
Bernardo's, Freddie dear.
Yes, that's where it is. That's where we managed to find our dear...
Deirdre?
What, Joni?
Deirdre's baby.
Whose baby?
Oh, you've been sleeping, dear.
I'm feeling a bit tired.
Was he adopted as a baby or later when he was older?
I'm sorry, I don't really know. I never actually saw him because he was taken away as soon as he was born. I don't even know if he was adopted or not.
Didn't you see him at all?
No. The hospital said that would be for the best.
Why?
They didn't give a reason, just took him away.
That would be the most practical thing to do.
Most practical? Most inhumane, I would have thought.
If you decide to have a baby and then abandon it, what else could the hospital do?
She didn't exactly commit a crime, you know.
Who didn't?
Deirdre.
What else would you call it?
The baby was an accident. She was immature, badly advised, perhaps, maybe in a panic, but that's not criminal.
So all these disgusting young teenagers that produce babies and expect to be housed and paid for by us isn't criminal?
Not really. Just very sad at having lost the time to grow from childhood to adulthood. If you want to vent your anger, direct it to the boys who make them pregnant and disappear.
They should control themselves and say no. It was never allowed at our school. For the one time it did happen, the girl was expelled.
That's very sad.
No, Deirdre, he was quite right.
And what about the boy?
What boy?
The boy who fathered the child.
It was a girls' school.
Oh, so that makes it all right, does it?
Makes what all right?
Ignoring the part the boy played.
Leave it, Claire.
We are on holiday and it's getting so serious. Freddie, dear, wake up and see if you can find that nice waiter. I think we all need a drink. Freddie?
Yes, dear?
I think a waiter is over there somewhere. See if we can find him. We're all in need of a drink.
No, please, it's time David and I left. It's been a long day.
Oh, not yet, surely.
We're going to. It's very late.
Not yet, Anthea.
Why?
I would like to stay for a while.
Of course you would. Are you sure you wouldn't like to try a little drink of some kind?
No, thank you.
A sparkling wine. Just a tiny one. You can't really call it alcoholic, just pleasant bubbles.
No, really.
They do a very pleasant English sparkling wine here. I saw it on the wine list when at dinner.
Why do you want to stay?
I feel a sort of relief. Something held in for most of my life has been released, and I don't want to let the feeling go. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does to me.
Well, it would.
But it doesn't alter things or make any difference to us. Not now. Does it, Claire?
No, I suppose not.
I can't do anything about the past.
That's very true. Isn't it, Freddie, dear?
A bit glib.
Who was it that said, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a present?
Oh, some sentimental idiot.
Not at all. It's very profound.
Nonsense.
While you're reminiscing about the past, I think I'll go for a walk. I need some fresh air,
I'll join you if you don't mind.
if you like.
Oh, dear.
We should leave these two to talk.
Do you know what year you had the child?
Sorry?
The exact year.
Why do you want to know?
It's important.
Well, you're grasping at straws, Joni.
Please.
Well, let me see.
It's exactly 32. Yes, 32 years ago that... No, sorry, that was when we... So it would have been 31 years ago, in April possibly. Yes, about April.
Are you sure?
Yes, it was. In April, I mean.
And he was definitely taken to Bernardo's in Colchester?
Can't say that. I remember the name being mentioned, that's all.
But it could have been.
I suppose so.
Where's all this leading?
Grasping at straws, Joni.
Our son Patrick. We adopted him from Bernardo's in Colchester, and he had his 31st birthday last May. We always celebrated his birthday from the month we adopted him, didn't we, Freddie dear?
This is all too much of a coincidence. A delightful thought maybe, but it's too fanciful for words.
Not necessarily.
David's right, Joni. Too much of a coincidence.
But it's possible, isn't it? There is a chance.
Having heard this evening that not only do I have another son, but that you could possibly be his adopted parents, too far-fetched, surely.
And he doesn't look like David, does he? Nor like Deirdre either, for that matter.
He could get his looks from his grandparents. Patrick's daughter has a look of David about her, don't you think? Same colour eyes, and the way she looks at you.
This is wishful thinking.
It may be, but a very romantic thought.
There you are, Joni.
What do you mean?
You're an old romantic.
What about his birth certificate? That would have all the necessary information, parents' name and so on, and where he was born.
Not altogether.
What do you mean?
We don't have a copy, but I do remember what it said.
You're right, Joni. I'd forgotten that.
Forgotten what?
What it said in the parents column.
Oh dear.
Under father's name was written unknown.
Unknown?
Yes.
What was on Patrick's birth certificate?
I didn't register the birth.
Who did? The hospital?
I suppose so.
And what did you tell them?
That I didn't know who the father was.
Why?
Because I had no idea where you were. And to protect you, I think. At the time, I thought we would never meet again. I was so young in so many ways.
We both were.
But your name would be there.
My real name.
What?
I was afraid of being traced, found out. So changed my name when I left the hospital. Or rather, added another one from then on.
Of course. That's why I couldn't remember you at first. The name didn't seem to fit. What made you choose Deirdre?
I had an aunt I liked named Deirdre.
So what was your real name?
Sheila. Although it sounds strange now, not having used it for so long.
Yes, that's right, Sheila. Sheila with a GH at the end. Sheila Doherty.
Well remembered.
So that's the name on the birth certificate.
Yes.
Freddie, did you remember the name on Patrick's birth certificate?
Oh, good heavens, no. You'll have to ask him. But the coincidence would be too great, Joni.
What coincidence is that?
You're back quickly.
Well, there was only misty blackness, nothing to see. But Anthea decided to walk round the deck anyway. Oh, she said she might go back to your cabin afterwards.
She did seem very upset.
Surprised more than anything. She doesn't seem to like men very much.
I think she had a horrible father. Not that she talks much about it. Doesn't talk about the past at all. That's why I was taken aback at her reaction to my past.
It was a big surprise to us all.
Yes, to me too.
So, what was this coincidence?
We were talking about birth certificates and the names on them.
Whose?
Sheila's. Deirdre's.
That's her real name, and it's possible that her Patrick is our Patrick too.
You can't know for sure, Joni. And it would be unwise to build up your hopes. Or best leave things as they are.
Are you saying that your son was adopted?
Yes.
And that he may be the same one?
Hopefully.
It sounds a bit far-fetched.
Well, that's what we've been saying.
Too much of a coincidence.
You could have a DNA test, I suppose.
Yes, of course. And what if they were the same? I mean, if he was the same?
Nothing can be done about it now.
But we could all be related.
Oh, God.
I think we should leave this for now, go to bed and rethink in the morning.
Oh, dear. Mental indigestion, what?
Something like that. Clearer heads.
How can you think of going to bed with this unresolved? There must be something we can do.
What had you in mind?
I don't know. What about phoning Patrick?
At this time of night?
This time of morning?
Why not?
And what could you say? Oh, have you got your birth certificate handy? Only we might be sitting with your natural parents on this cruise, who by chance happen to have met for the first time after 30 years or more.
He's right, Joni. Let's sleep on it.
I'll not be able to sleep a wink. Not now.
Then have another drink to calm you down.
I don't need calming down, Freddie dear. I'm too excited at the prospect of him meeting his parents.
But will he want to know?
Who?
Patrick. Could be quite a shock after such a long time.
Yes, it could be devastating. He thinks of you two as his parents, which you have been all his life. And relations with your daughter-in-law might deteriorate even further. See even less of your grandchildren than you do now. Assuming, of course, that he is Deirdre's son.
Which is most unlikely. So, if you want to make any inquiries, I suggest you do it discreetly.
He might be right, Joni.
Think about it overnight and decide what to do tomorrow. We'll still be here, won't we? For a week.
Hello, Anthea. I thought you were going to the cabin.
I decided to come back and join you. There's a thick mist everywhere, so you can hear the water washing by, but unable to see it.
Yes, it was a bit spooky. Like being the only one on the Marie Celeste.
We've been talking about Patrick and thinking that they might be the same person.
Yes, I overheard.
Which would mean that...
And we've all agreed that the likelihood is very remote.
Let's not dwell on it too long, Joni.
But I just can't not think about it, Freddie dear.
Nothing can be done until you go home anyway.
We could email him.
Joni.
What makes you think the two Patricks are the same?
When we applied originally, it took about 6 months to go through the vetting process.
At least that long.
Especially as we wanted a baby as opposed to an older child. Then a month-old baby was available at Colchester's Bernardo's, and we were rushed there as soon as we heard.
And saw Patrick.
A tiny, blue-eyed bundle of joy.
Are you all right, Deirdre?
Yes.
Would you like a tissue?
No, thank you.
And after 2 weeks, we took him home.
I almost hope he is the same. He's obviously had a good home for all these years.
But even if he is the same, would he want to know that he was discarded?
That's a bit cruel.
But true.
Do you really believe that?
Yes, I do.
Discarded?
What would you call it?
Perhaps giving him the chance of a better life than we could have done.
You could have done.
I mean, Deirdre could have done on her own.
Providing they are the same.
We're going round in circles here and nothing new is being said or accomplished. So why don't we leave things as they are and rethink tomorrow?
If needed.
I think the sordid matter is best forgotten.
Why? What's sordid about
Do you
it?
think it's possible that the two boys are in fact the same one?
As we said, it's very unlikely.
The whole idea is disgusting.
Are you saying sex is disgusting or that we are disgusting?
But I suppose it would be good to know, one way or another.
It's a pity Deirdre, whatever her name is, decided to be on this boat at
The
all.
idea of Deirdre secretly having a child all that time ago and just giving it away without any thought of the poor creature's future, knowing he was abandoned as unwanted.
Patrick doesn't feel it's wrong.
It's probably not your son.
Fate does have funny tricks to play occasionally. I remember one trip to... Now, where was it?
South America?
Somewhere hot. But of course it's mostly to hot places on these cruises. Other than when we went to the Arctic at one time.
The ships are out a sailing. We're riding along on the crest of a wave, and the world is.
That was Cruising Ahoy with Mandy Mattei and Charles Halford as Claire and David, Linda Hansel and John Mortley as Joanne and Frederick, and Sarah Perkins and Kath Messam as Deirdre and Anthea. The play was written and directed by Ken Mason.